This is your wake-up call.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
But it was the concept of astroturfing and what that is in the context we've heard it before, and as well how a foreign influence transparency registry might be used to counteract some of those efforts. So I'll go first to Ms. Wong here in the room, and then Ms. Lau online. Thank you.
Astroturfing are initiatives that Beijing undertakes to try to appear to be a grassroots ethnic organization. So they do this by either using a similar name or an acronym of an existing organization, or they form a shell organization to appear to be a community grassroots effort. I'll hand to Ayman.
Yep. So the first thing I want to preface to the committee is that in my opinion, there's no foolproof way to completely stop foreign interference, but there are ways we can try to minimize the impact. And we do believe that a foreign influence transparency scheme would provide Canadians with the very much needed knowledge on how these astroturfing operations function within Canadian society, and to better inform Canadians of the organizations they may be engaging with, and whether or not that is something that they want to pursue in the future. I think, of course, transparency is a deterrence in itself. However, that might not completely stop astroturfing from continuing to occur. But again, transparency is the best, one of the key, and sunlight and transparency is critical here.
Thank you for that. I want to follow up maybe on a bit of a individual level with both of you. You've both been strong voices, on the against the Chinese Communist Party in Beijing. I just want to know from your personal experience what whether you've faced any challenges or intimidation for being such strong voices.
Maybe I'll start. So when I first founded Alliance Canada Hong Kong 3 years ago, it was a week where I spent in Vancouver. My hotel room was booked by my colleague under a different name from me. The day after we launched Alliance Canada Hong Kong, I held a press conference. At 7 a.m., someone called my hotel room, identified me by name, identified my room number, and said, "We're coming to get you." Now, I'm able to say this calmly here today, but a couple years ago when I think about that day, that morning, I shook in that hotel room. I did what I was supposed to do. I called the Vancouver police. I called for help and said, I think someone is threatening me. They know where I am. They know who I am. And I do not feel safe. To this day, I have not met with any representatives from the Vancouver Police Department. They have never sent an officer to meet with me or to talk to me about this. I have a case number, but there is no information provided to me beyond that. This is not an emergency, and in fact, you should not be contacting us about such a issue because it is not a threat in their eyes.
And Ms. Lau, did you have anything to add to that?
Certainly, I haven't faced the level of harassment that Sherry has faced, but I do know that at the height of my advocacy, I've had friends who have received incredibly strange phone calls of someone just breathing on the other end of the phone. That sent me into a panic, and on a personal level, engaging in public-facing advocacy has certainly caused personal relationships to be quite strained, and I certainly still worry to this day for my loved ones.
Well, let me say I want to thank both of you for your advocacy. I don't think any of us around this table can imagine what you faced, and I think something that we've heard yesterday in the House of Commons, Mr. Chong, who is a member of Parliament, someone with a platform, someone with strong voice, has been threatened and intimidated, and then we have the entire diaspora community here in Canada. Could you talk perhaps about how the community here in Canada faces ongoing threats, ongoing intimidation from Beijing?
It is quite unsafe for diaspora and ethnic communities to speak out. I think it is important to acknowledge that those individuals who feel safe enough to speak out in public spaces often won't face repercussions for their action from state actors, making it an incredibly unsafe environment for dissidents like us to speak up. And when we face these type of harassment and our community members know that there's no action and no safety protocols for us, they become more afraid of speaking out. It is a very isolating and lonely experience, and I hope that we could look to you to provide support to us and understand that there are real concerns and real threats facing diaspora and ethnic communities for them to safely engage in civic duties in this country.
Thank you for that. And following up, we've known that there have been, foreign police stations set up in some of the large metropolitan areas in Canada. How does something like that affect those living in Canada?
It's, of course, a very scary experience, and it goes to further make them afraid and be silent because of these alleged police stations.
Thank you. Mr. Fergus?
Merci beaucoup, Madame. But you've testified, Ms. Wong, at not just this committee, you've testified at other committees. You made a statement that you believe your laptop and your internet were disrupted or hacked, and it wasn't a coincidence. Can you speak to any other times other than that particular incident where you or somebody from your organization has, in what you believe to be, as a result of being invited to Parliament, to the committee, any committee of Parliament, where you believe that you were interfered with?
Yeah, our organization was invited in August of 2020 to speak to the Canada-China committee. After our testimony, our website and our cyber network was basically taken down by hackers from Russia and from China. So we recorded extensively of the cyber attack, the IP address of which they are coming from, some of which are Beijing state-owned companies. So they've taken down our website successfully with that attack. We've since improved our security apparatus to prevent that. We did submit a report with the cyber attack details to members of our security agencies, but have never heard back.
Thank you. And just one follow-up question for you. In your opening remarks, you talked about, I'll call them Mandarin or Cantonese-based media outlets here in Canada, domestic media outlets. I've heard through people communicating with me that the vast majority of Mandarin or Cantonese media outlets are directly or indirectly owned, operated, or influenced by Beijing. Can you confirm that?
Be able to confirm it. I don't have solid knowledge, but I can say that most of the diaspora who are aware of the information tactics that are used by the United Front deems ethnic media in Canada as compromised and overwhelmingly pro-Beijing, also because of self-censorship of journalists who practice in these media organizations.